Tonight, let's do this. Better than expected, worse than expected, or as expected. And our first one tonight is U of H basketball, the season as a whole. Which one of those is it for you, Kris?
Better than expected. Better than expected. I mean, there's talk about them possibly being a #1 overall seed. And I don't believe anybody would have predicted that this season. And only one loss in conference play as well. Better than expected. Top 5 throughout the year. So, yeah, for me, better than expected.
As expected for me, when you have a couple of stars last year who weren't around for most of the season, with Marcus Sasser and Tremont Mark, and you add those to the mix, and then you bring in a standout freshman like Jarace Walker, I thought they were going to be here. What happened that I didn't expect was a #1 rating, because usually, the writers are stacked against U of H getting that #1 rating. And if they get a #1 seed, as Kris is talking about, that's amazing. They deserve it, no doubt about it, but I expected them to be very good, better than last year.
So you're as expected then?
As expected, I'm going to go with that.
Okay. I think I'm going to say better than expected, because just for that fact about them being #1 and holding on for a couple of weeks at a time and adding a McDonald's All-American. Yes, all the pieces were there, but you just never know how guys are going to gel. But that's the beauty of a Kelvin Sampson team. He finds a way for all the pieces to fit. But I'm still going to say better than expected. Daniel?
Yeah, I'm going to go better than expected, too, and that's no slight against the team. We knew they were going to be really, really good, but better than expected in the sense that they were still replacing a lot of starters. Yes, they added a couple of guys in, but they were still replacing starters. And the fact that Juwan Roberts has really developed into quite the talent down low. I'm not sure that kind of development was expected this quickly for him. I mean, he was a good player last year, but he's become a key cog in that offense. And they've gotten contributions from guys like Emmanuel Sharp, who gets some big minutes off the bench. So all of that mixed into one, I think they were better than expected. We knew they were going to be good, but, man, they've turned out to be quite the juggernaut here.
I've always felt, Kris, that you get into the tournament with a team like U of H and the way they play defense. These conference opponents, they're used to seeing this. But when you get into an NCAA tournament, it becomes like a smack in the face to those other teams that are not used to facing that kind of defensive pressure.
That's a great point. And it's an advantage that the Cougs have in the early rounds, because you can prepare for it in practice a little bit, but there's nothing like facing the Cougar monster traps, the aggressive defense from Jamal Shade at the perimeter, Marcus Sasser in his perimeter defense. There's nothing like going against it for the first time. And the first time, tournament's one and done. It's too late by the time you get used to it. You're already down by 15 points.
Jarace Walker, we've brought up the amazing freshman, McDonald's All-American. Jarace Walker's freshman year, better than expected, as expected, or worse than expected, Kris?
Wow. I'm really going to lean to, and Coach Sampson's going to probably shoot me for saying this, slightly worse than expected, only because 5-star McDonald's All-American, I expect him to be a more consistent double-digit scorer. But the thing is, with this year's team, he hasn't been asked to score points. Like Daniel pointed out, Juwan Roberts has been the low post option, first. I thought that would have been Jarace Walker. So Jarace Walker, his rebounding has gotten better. It's not been great for much of this season. He's gotten better lately. So little things like that. I mean, all that. He's still 6-time conference freshman player of the week. So he's still putting up good numbers, but just a little bit worse than expected.
Huh. Interesting.
I'm going to go as expected. I didn't expect this guy to be the best freshman in America, but on some nights I expected him to be really, really good, as he's been. He's like better than expected sometimes. Then other nights, not so much. So he is right where I thought he would be. Great talent. He shows it off, but not consistently enough. I would I would not recommend he goes into the NBA. I keep hearing he's a lottery pick. I understand that. But man, if he would have one more year of college seasoning under Kellen and Kelvin, oh my gosh, this guy would be a monster who hits the NBA. But too much money's on the line, too much money on the line. So I'm guessing he'll be gone after this.
Yeah, for me, I'm going to go as expected. Coach Sampson always talks about his coachability, and I think that's key when it comes to Jarace, because we see those moments, those flashes, but then we see him kind of take a step back and not really control the game like he really can. But to Kris's point, he doesn't have to do it on this team because he got so many other options, and with Juwan's emergence, then that really helps, especially down low. But I think Jarace has really learned a lot, especially on the defensive end. Here in the last couple of weeks, he's been really good with the defensive rotations, getting to the basket, blocking shots, being that presence down low. And then on offensive end, I think he's really worked on his three-pointer too. They've found him in some open spaces along the three-point line, which he's really capitalized on. I mean, I didn't think he was going to be all freshman player. I mean, he's going to be good. When I saw him at practice the first time, I was like, oh my God, this guy can be really, really awesome. But I think for the way he can fit in, for the way players fit into a Kelvin Sampson system, I think it's as expected.
See, I'm going to say better than expected because, and Kris, I think you were on this call with Kelvin Sampson when he was explaining about Jarace Walker, saying, listen, this guy, yes, he's a McDonald's All-American, but there's a lot of things he needs to get better at. And yes, he was going to be plug and play, but I think he was trying to say this is not a kid that's going to take the world by storm initially because he needs to work on some things. So that's why I'm going to say better than expected. Am I wrong in thinking that? I mean, you said worse than expected.
I said worse than expected. And my rationale is more, I'm really leaning toward Buse as well. He's not ready for the NBA. Okay. He's still going to go to the NBA after this year, one and done, but he's a, top 10 lottery pick. But he's too inconsistent on offense. And I think I had higher expectations from him for that. I thought he'd score more. But it has been needed. I mean, I don't think he's not average, but scored in double digits more than half the games this season. I thought he would do that.
All right.
All I was going to say was I think the tournament is going to be huge for a player like that.
Yep.
Right? You get on the national stage. And yes, he's been projected to be a lottery pick. That's great. But if he doesn't have the type of tournament that, a lot of people are expecting him to have, then I think he can maybe come back for another year. But if he goes out and he balls out in the tournament on the national stage, then there's no doubt he's leaving after one and done. I think that tournament is going to be so huge for Jarace Walker.
I agree. I just hope he doesn't put too much pressure on himself because of that fact, Daniel.
All right, so let's move on now. The state of college basketball in the state of Texas. Better than expected, worse than expected, or as expected? Kris?
Overall, better than expected.
Yep.
I'd say better than expected.
Yep.
Baylor, Houston are two of the top 10 teams in the country. Texas Tech, they've lost transfers. They're still solid. Not a great record in conference play, of course. But other teams, Rice has had a good year. Could be better if they were better on defense. But overall, I think the biggest disappointment in Texas schools is Texas Southern Prairie View. But other than that, I think everybody else has played as well as or better than expected.
Man, you stole my line there. Yeah, the local SWAC schools, they're the disappointment. I hate to see that. But when you're naming off all those Texas schools, you didn't even name TCU, and they've been ranked most of the season. And Texas A&M, I mean, that team has come on. Now, they fell down in that last game. They blew a big lead in that last game, which they can't do. I'm sure that will be rectified, but I like what A&M's going on over there. They're going to make the tournament for sure after being disappointed last year.
Yeah, certainly better than any NBA product we're seeing out of Texas, especially out of two cities. Yeah, I think it's better than expected. A couple of years ago, we had a record number of Texas teams in the tournament. And I think that number could be pretty good again. I mean, we had TCU, Texas A&M. Texas is also a really good team. And I know we're going to get to the question here about sleeper teams maybe here in a second, but I mean, the way that team has been battle tested, all these teams have been battle tested in their conferences, I think really helps them in the tournament moving forward. It's been fun to watch. I mean, it's been a really fun college basketball season for sure.
All right, Daniel just proved that he read our pre-show email. So yes, we will be doing a sleeper team. It doesn't have to be from the state of Texas. It can be from anywhere. So heading into March, a sleeper team to watch for you, Kris, is which one?
Indiana Hoosiers. I'm going to go with Indiana. Trace Jackson Davis is an All-American, but if he gets contribution from his freshman point guard, Jalen Hood-Schifrino, if he plays like he did against Purdue on Saturday at 35 points, if he gets that kind of help, I'd say Indiana would be a sleeper for sure.
I got to go Kansas State because I think they're going to make a run. And there's one big reason why. Tang. It's not that powdered orange drink that the astronauts made famous. It's Jerome Tang, longtime assistant at Baylor. That guy goes into Kansas State and totally turns things around. They haven't had a team like this at K-State since Bob Huggy Bear Huggins was up there. They play that way too. And here's the reason I think they're going to make a deep run. Like University of Houston, they don't have all the talent that U of H has. They've got tough guys that can play defense and rebound. That's why K-State is my sleeper team.
I was going to say Marquette, because Marquette, Shaka Smart, top 10 team, but I'm going to switch that. I'm going to go, and I hope I'm not stealing your thunder, Daniel. St. Mary's? Were you going to go St. Mary's? Okay, good. I'm going to say St. Mary's, 5th best defense in the country when it comes to your normal defensive metrics, and then also 8th in the Ken Palm rankings. They're top 10. So I'm going to say St. Mary's out of California.
And St. Mary's lost to U of H, so that's a feather in U of H's cap for sure. Yeah, I could go the homer route. I could say Northwestern is going to be back in the tournament. I'm not going to do that because I think they're going to be a one and done team in the tournament. But I'm going to go with UConn. UConn was a top 10 team, some argue top 5 team earlier in the season. They hit a skid throughout the middle of the season. They lost 3 straight games. But then recently, and the last 2 losses over the last month have only been by 3 points. They're playing really good basketball. They just blew away Providence, who's a top 20 team. I think UConn's got a lot of talent. It's good to see them kind of back. I mean, UConn basketball, I mean, they've kind of down year the last couple of years. So I think UConn could be a tough matchup for a lot of teams in the tournament coming up.
As expected, Kris Gardner from the Houston Roundball Review, bringing the good stuff tonight. Thanks so much for being on Sports Extra, Kris.
My pleasure as always, guys. Appreciate it.